And I'm going to share my screen. And the first thing I want to show you, if you go into the intranet, one of the questions I always get asked, where the heck do you find the app? You can download it in either the Play Store or the iTunes, whatever it's called, store at this point, but it's also, you can get to the app straight from the intranet right here with the Agent One button. You click that, it takes you into the app, and boom, we're inside. The app looks very unassuming, but it's a very, very, very strong tool if you use it correctly. Just to give everyone an example, I did an estimate on here this morning, along with I did one in our loan operating system, an actual loan estimate. It came within $2 of the payment on my loan estimate. And that was just because the mortgage insurance is estimated differently. And it also then was within $50 of the estimated closing costs. So it absolutely works. It's very, very accurate if you're working with West Penn Financial and Everest Settlement. I don't know what any other mortgage company or title company is charging. So will these fees be accurate if they're not working with West Penn and Everest? No. But no matter what, it's going to give you a pretty darn good estimate. And if your buyers like what they see, just know they should call me because that's what my costs are. So that's kind of the idea here. If you're on your phone, the bottom of your screen will show the 4 or 5 different options. You have a buyer section, a seller section, calculators, estimates, and then premium. Today, we're focusing on the buyer and seller estimates. We'll do the buyer estimate first, and then we'll get into the seller estimate to show you how quick and easy this is. A lot of agents try to get a little too crazy. They get into the options section, they start clicking buttons. You don't have to do that. We've made this as easy as possible and as pre-made as possible, so you don't have to touch any extra buttons. Never go into the options section. I would never touch this. There's no reason to ever go in there. If you ever need an extra tutorial, if you click on the button play here by buyer, here is a pre-made tutorial that's 18 minutes long, made by the app developer. If you wanted to go over, again, if you needed a second look or if you wanted to hear how something is said, but that would be up to you. Next, you're going to see this button that says add address. So this supposedly through the app will calculate the taxes automatically. I would suggest not to do this because I don't trust any automated tax system, and I've seen this be wrong. So I don't ever put in the address. I go off the MLS or I calculate the taxes myself. I don't put the address in here. So really, the first box you're going to go to is the loan type. And if you go down, you can use this for all loan types. Even you can use this for cash deals if you need to. Because conventional loans are most popular, generally we're going to be showing conventional estimates because they're still about 80% of all the loans being done. So if you have a buyer, you know what the loan type is. We're then going to go in and put in the purchase price, whatever that may be. We can use $300,000 for today. Now the down payment, it's just preset at 10, but you can make it 5. You can make it if you do a dollar amount, you see how it then goes to the dollar amount, but usually it's, down payment as a percentage. So we'll go with 5% down. The clearer, the better numbers you put in this section, the better the app is going then to calculate for your buyer. The next part is the interest rate. So the interest rate is updated about once a month through the app developer. It does not update daily for what the rates are. And also, because this is meant to be used as an initial estimate, we usually have the rate maybe a little bit higher than the best rate would be, usually maybe 0.25% higher. Let's say today we could use a flat 7% for a rate if we need to. 30-year term is most popular, but if you have a 15-year term or whatever it may be, a lower than 30, generally they go in 5 years, then you can change it here, but most are 30-year terms. Before, the miscellaneous tab wasn't used all that often. Now, if you're going to have to be adding seller assistance or adding commission or adding some other cost that you want to make sure the buyer can see, the miscellaneous section is now going to be very important. This section, you don't just click and type right here. Don't do that. You have to hit the little wheel widget to get into the miscellaneous section. And when you hit the wheel, it pulls up this new tab where you can either add the buyer's costs or you can subtract from buyer's costs. So let's just pretend, actually, what did we have here? We have a $300,000 purchase price. Okay. So if we go into miscellaneous, let's say this buyer's going to pay all buyer agent commission, all the broker commission. So we'll do this. You can name it whatever you want, and we'll make this 3%. Then we'll add another one, name it whatever you want, and then say the set fee is $395. So here you have 3% as the top fee, the bottom is $395 just as a set dollar amount. But then let's say you want to show the buyer, hey, you're also going to ask for seller assistance. So that would be in the section where you're going to subtract. So you put in here seller assist or name it whatever you want. And then again, let's say here we're going to do 3% because 5% down on a conventional loan, you can get 3% seller assistance. All right, so we've added and subtracted whatever we needed to from the buyer's closing costs. You hit done, and it doesn't like that. So don't name it the same thing. Name it something different. There we go. Once you name them, it will tell you that the costs have been stored. You'll hit OK, and now you can see in the miscellaneous section, it says stored. You can't see the numbers. You can't see those extra costs, but trust me, when we get to the actual cost sheet, you will be able to see those costs. We have built in hazard insurance or homeowners insurance at $100 a month or $1,200 for the year. That's what we're kind of using as the estimated amount. Of course, buyers will shop around and get their actual estimate or their actual homeowners insurance quote after they get their offer accepted. The annual taxes, you don't need to break this down by month. Whatever the annual taxes are, let's call them $4,000 for this estimate. You put them all in there, one and done, makes it very easy. If there is an HOA fee, you would put it in here, but be very careful with this annual or monthly tab. Don't put the annual amount in and it be monthly or vice versa. That's not going to calculate properly and you'll mess up the cost. So be careful there. Then finally, with the transfer tax, how it's preset is 1% for the buyer. As you can see, you can do buyer, seller, or split. We all understand that a normal transaction in our area, the full transfer tax for the transaction normally is 2%. 1% for the buyer, 1% for the seller. If you wanted to click this as split and make it 2, go ahead. You can do that. But also know that if you leave it at 1 and it's for buyer, it's preset in there correctly. If you're in a municipality that's not the normal one, you have to update it manually here. Nothing else will know unless you change it. It doesn't automatically update. You have to change that. And then the closing date doesn't really matter because we estimate 30 days of interest in the estimate. So we don't really mess with the days of interest. So you can just leave the closing date, whatever today's date is. There we go. Through all of these fields, we put in all the information we need for the cost sheet to be built. So next thing, obviously, you hit compute. Once you hit compute, it's going to bring two circles up in the middle of your screen. And those two circles are going to be the monthly payment and the cash to close. Let's scroll up here a little bit. So here it is, the monthly payment and the cash to close. That's exactly what the buyer wants to see. But again, this screen doesn't show the full closing cost sheet yet, and we'll get to that. But first, I want to show you what you can do on this screen. So if you're on your phone and you turn it sideways, it will bring up a different menu. And if I just hit this button here, it will bring up the same menu. So a lot of times you guys or buyers will ask, hey, if I go up X amount of dollars on a purchase price, how is that going to affect my payment? And if you just turn your phone sideways, or if you hit the little button on the computer screen, this is brought up for you to show you the difference in payment if you go up or down $20,000. So that's a quick little tool. Now, say you wanted to change it. If you hit the little icon here, you can change the difference. You can change, maybe you want to show difference of 25,000 in purchase price. So you hit update, instead of 10,000, it's going to show you 25,000 in purchase price. And then you're like, oh man, this is really good information. If you hit the widget, which is the little square with the arrow coming out of it, it will then make that into a printable flyer for you, with your information would be at the bottom branded on this, that you could then send out to your clients. So that's just a little quick, what we'll call a little detour inside the app on our way to making the cost sheet. But that's what happens if you turn your phone sideways, or again, if you hit the button right here in the screen, it looks like the phone is turning. If we want to get to where the estimates are, it just takes one more tap. And if you're on your computer, you're going to hit the share or print PDF. If you're on your phone, you're going to tap the square with the arrow coming out of it, usually in the upper right-hand column of your screen. And then you're going to do send full report. So if you do that on either one, it's going to build your estimate. Now, again, if you're on the computer, it will bring it up right away for you in your templates. There's like 15 different templates you can make, will be on the right-hand side. If you're on your phone, at the bottom of the screen, there should be a button you can tap that says templates, that you'll scroll through, that will show you the different information. So most of the templates show you the same info. It's just how you want it to look. There's other templates that go in a little bit more detail. So the one thing I want to show, I'm going to go to the bottom because there's a real basic one, like the third from the bottom. Here it is. Let me click on this and show you. So guys, this is all the same info. You have your monthly payment in the upper left-hand column, $24.17. It has the full payment broken down. Your principal, your interest, your homeowner's insurance, your property taxes, your mortgage insurance. Right below it, it has the loan info, the purchase price, the down payment, the interest rate, the APR. On the right-hand side, it has your total estimated cash needed to close at the $31,337. Down below, it has everything broken down. These are the West Penn and Everest fees updated to match my loan estimate exactly. What I want to show you guys here is the items I put in was the $9,000 BHHS commission, $395 set fee, and then right below that also is seller assistance of $9,000 and a full transfer tax of 1%. So all the costs we put in at the beginning, the commission and the seller assistance transferred over to the estimate, where you then can show your buyer. Now you can do this for a listing to show the estimated costs. You can do this and send it to a buyer. You can, on the left-hand side, you can save this inside the app. You can share this on social media. you can print it, you can download it, you can email it. If you want to go up here to the customizable screen, if you have a buyer that English is not their first language, and it may be easier for them to review a cost sheet in Spanish or French or Vietnamese, you click the button, you hit update, and very quickly your estimate will translate into whatever language you have picked. Also, you can edit profile information if you need to change any of your personal info, add any licenses, whatever you want to be compliant. You can do it right in the customize screen. You can also edit the property information. So if you wanted to add the address, okay, let's add the address, and we'll do corporate. Okay, say you wanted to add the address. Why would you do that? Well, for one, you can put the name, you can add some photos, you can even put a signature line in here, but why would you add the address here? It's not for any, and I'm going to put this back to English. It's not for any cost information. It's because some of the templates are based off of and will show local information. So for example, if I click on the top one that shows a local guide, if you put in the address, it will tell you some of the information about the area, how close some things are to the property, what school district the property's in, what schools the person or the students or the children could potentially go to in their grades, where their rank is in the area. And of course, as you see, North Allegheny has some pretty good numbers there. If that you were in this school district, that might be something that you would want to advertise. And again, everything at the bottom is co-branded. Any of these ones on the right-hand side, if you like this one, if you want to deal with colors, again, they're all going to show roughly the same information. It's just how you want it to look. And you can print them out, you can share them, you can show them to clients. It's all really what you're going for and what the main goal is with the buyer estimate. But that first screen is very unassuming. It looks very basic. It's supposed to be. We want to just say, hey, put in these numbers. This is all you have to do. And then it will make these automatic reports for you. So that is for the buyer estimate. If you need anything regarding the buyer estimate, please just reach out. It's supposed to be very easy. Like I said, I did an estimate this morning. It showed within $2 of the actual payment I was showing and within $50 of my cash to close. That's a pretty darn good first estimate to be getting out to your clients with accurate information. And the best part about the app is it also doesn't do just buyer cost sheets, it does seller cost sheets. So if you're on your phone, at the bottom of your app, there should be the different buttons, buyer, seller, calculator, premium. Click the seller one. I'm going to click it here on the screen. If no one has any questions, I'll move forward into the seller estimate. And it's very similar to the buyer one. It has almost the same look to it. Again, don't ever touch the options button. There's no need to do that. If you don't like my tutorial, just like on the buyer side, if you hit the play button here, there is a pre-made tutorial from the app developer that will show you how to work the seller estimate. But I think this review should be pretty good as well. Again, I wouldn't put the address in. That's right now going to mess up the taxes. The tax is a whole nother section we're going to talk about because how it's paid in PA, but we'll get into that. Next, again, you can come through. Most of the time it's going to be conventional loans at this point, but if it needs to be something else, you can change it to that. We'll stick with the $300,000 purchase price, but you can use anything there. Update the broker fee. If it's not going to be 6%, you can change it to a dollar figure or change the percentage, whatever you need. Maybe it's early in the process and there's some repairs you want to show that the buyer has to make before, we get it sold. Maybe that's going to be 5,000 in repairs. Miscellaneous, again, same thing. If you're going to add or subtract, you can do it here from the costs. The biggest confusion on the seller cost sheet comes in the annual tax section. And the reason for this is usually the seller has paid their tax ahead of time, a year ahead of time, and they don't pay any taxes at closing. They're even maybe getting reimbursed some taxes they've already paid. The app developers make us put a number in here, unfortunately. So all I can tell everyone is put $1. 0 doesn't work. You have to put $1. So just put $1. If they owe taxes, if they tell you they owe taxes and they know they're going to have to pay that, then I would put that amount in the tax amount. But in most cases, that's not going to happen. The loan balance. So if the seller says, hey, I still owe, 75,000 on my current mortgage, you would put that section in here. And you're gonna want to try to estimate their interest rate because it will calculate days interest. But just so you know, if you hit the widget, it will pull up a little chart of where the history of interest rates, if you can guess, or if you know when they bought the house, they would tell you where that should roughly be to use for that interest rate. So that's that little widget tool there. With the transfer tax, even mine has a little glitch here. This is a seller cost sheet. If this says 1% and buyer is showing, you need to change that. You need to make sure it says seller, because if it's up to the buyer section, it's not going to calculate on the estimate. This is a seller cost sheet. You need to make sure the seller is paying their portion of the transfer taxes of the 1%. So make sure that says what it should say, and that should be seller, or split if you wanted to do it that way and put the 2% in there. Then if you do the closing date, it's going to estimate the day's interest. So you can put that in there. It's going to calculate automatically a month away. Then again, you hit compute. It will then take you to just one circle this time, because there's only one number that the seller cares about, and that's going to be net to close. And for a $300,000 house with a balance of $75,000, they're going to be bringing home $198,261. What I'll show you here, if you go into the detailed closing costs, if I click that, here's the closing cost. It's pre-set in here. You have the settlement fee, the deed prep, notary, and lien letters. If there's anything extra, you would have to add it into the miscellaneous. Down here, other fees, you have the 1% transfer tax. We put in that $5,000 worth of repairs that were going to be needed. There's the estimated interest. And then 6% for buyer broker fee and listing broker fee there, giving the total costs above. So that's the breakdown. Again, hit the widget with the arrow coming out of the square if you're on your phone. Plus, if you're on the computer, just hit the button here, and it's going to be the same idea. It will show you a net sheet. And on the right-hand side, there's going to be multiple options, or if you're on your phone, you're going to hit the template to show you the different options, and it's all going to show you the same information. It's just going to depend on how it looks. And again, when you build your profile, all of this information will be your information on every single item that comes out of the app. On the right-hand side, it will always say title, fees, and rates provided by West Penn Financial. We are the lending institution that allows us and allows you guys to quote interest rates without breaking any rules, because everything's offered by West Penn Financial. So that's a little compliance item there. So there we have it. We have the breakdown of the buyer sheet and the seller sheet. Now, say you messed something up here, you wanted to go back and you wanted to change something, hit the back button. On both the buyer and the seller calculating screens, if you hit the little refresh button or the circle with the arrow right here, it will ask you if you want to start a new estimate. That will clear everything out. So if you think you messed something up, you can't figure out how to restart, hit that and boom, you're right back to the beginning where you can start fresh to make sure that's correct. And again, sometimes on the seller cost sheet, and I got to talk to the app developers, it is putting in here buyer for the transfer tax. Make sure that says seller, or make sure you do the split of 2%. So it calculates properly. I don't want your sellers getting upset. So there we go. That's the buyer and seller cost sheet. I will send the recording out right after this. It is a great tool to use, guys. I will do in the next upcoming weeks, I'll keep continuing going over the other parts of the app. But if you need to get your buyers a quick, accurate cost sheet, especially at the beginning of the process, there is no better tool out there. There's no lender and brokerage that has this tool available. So please use it. Let me know if you have any questions. And I appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone. Bye now.
Thanks, Ryan.